I think one of the major issues I have with now's dating pool is that men want to be treated like women. And what I mean by that is men want to be courted.
Here we go with another entitled woman who thinks she's God's gift to men when she's barely a 4 on her best day. Look at this woman. She's sitting there with the audacity to demand that men court her like she's some prize worth winning. This is the perfect example of how social media and feminism have completely destroyed women's ability to accurately assess their own market value. This woman has been so gaslit by modern society that she genuinely believes she deserves to be pursued and courted by men, despite bringing absolutely nothing to the table except attitude and entitlement. She's talking about men wanting to be treated like women, but what she's really revealing is that she wants to be treated like a high-value woman when she's objectively not. She wants all the benefits of traditional gender roles when it comes to being pursued and provided for, but I guarantee you she offers none of the traditional feminine qualities that would justify that treatment. The delusion is staggering. She's complaining about men not approaching her, but any man with options is going to take one look at her and her attitude and immediately move on to any other option. She's created this fantasy in her head where she's the prize that men should be competing for.
Like, what do you mean? I say, oh yeah, I've seen you before, and you tell me and you didn't say nothing to me? Sorry, I thought I was the woman. Like, no, I'm not gonna approach you first.
This woman is angry that men aren't approaching her, and she's using her gender as justification for why she shouldn't have to put in any effort whatsoever. She's standing there demanding that men do all the work while she contributes nothing except her mere existence, and she genuinely cannot understand why this isn't working out for her. But here's the reality check she needs. Traditional gender roles were a package deal. Women got the privilege of being courted and pursued because they brought something valuable to the table: femininity, domestic skills, loyalty, respect, and the ability to make men's lives better. Modern women like this one want all the benefits of traditional masculinity from men while offering none of the traditional femininity in return. She wants men to approach her, court her, pay for dates, open doors, and basically provide all the effort and investment, but what is she offering in return? Attitude? Demands? A perpetual scowl and the personality of a DMV employee. This woman has confused having a vagina with having value, and reality is about to give her a very expensive education. The reason men aren't approaching her isn't because they've become feminine, it's because she's not worth approaching. Men haven't lost their masculine instincts, they've just developed better standards and self-preservation instincts. When you look like you argue with fast food employees for a living and act like the world owes you something, quality men are going to pass you by without a second thought.
You're a man. Like, come and talk to me first. No, I'm not gonna ask you on a date. You're the man. Take me on a date. No, I'm not touching my own door. No, that's what you're here for. No, I'm not paying for this date.
This is where the delusion reaches peak levels. She's listing off all the things she expects men to do for her while simultaneously offering absolutely nothing in return. She wants men to approach her, ask her out, plan dates, pay for everything, and treat her like a princess, but what's she bringing to this equation besides her charming personality? Traditional masculinity, the kind that approaches women, pays for dates, and opens doors, was traditionally exchanged for traditional femininity. Men were the pursuers and providers because women were the supporters and nurturers. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement where both parties brought something valuable to the relationship. But this woman represents the modern female delusion where they want all the benefits of traditional masculinity without providing any traditional femininity. She wants to be courted like a 1950s housewife while acting like a boss babe. She wants chivalry from men she has no intention of showing respect or appreciation toward. The funniest part is her complete lack of self-awareness about why this strategy isn't working. She's genuinely confused about why men aren't lining up to spend money on her and cater to her demands. She can't comprehend that men have other options, including the option to stay single, and that those options are becoming increasingly attractive compared to dealing with entitled, unpleasant women like herself. She's essentially demanding that men treat her like a high-value woman when she's demonstrably low-value. High-value women don't need to make demands and ultimatums. Men naturally want to court them and treat them well because they're actually worth the investment. When you have to demand to be treated like a prize, you've already revealed that you're not one.
That's what you're here. Like, what is going on? Men, they don't want to do, chivalry is dead. Men don't want to be gentlemen. I don't know what's going on.
She's having a breakdown because men aren't catering to her every whim and treating her like the queen she believes herself to be. This is what happens when women are raised with unlimited self-esteem and no connection to reality. She genuinely cannot understand why her strategy of being demanding and unpleasant while offering nothing in return isn't attracting high-quality men. The death of gentlemen she's complaining about is actually the birth of men with standards. Modern men have figured out that being a gentleman to ungrateful, entitled women is a losing proposition. Why would any self-respecting man waste his time and money on someone who views his efforts as an obligation rather than a gift? She's mourning the death of a system that benefited her while contributing nothing to maintain it. Traditional gentlemanly behavior existed because men were dealing with ladies, women who were gracious, appreciative, feminine, and who made men's lives better in return. When women stopped being ladies, men stopped being gentlemen. It's cause and effect, but she's too self-absorbed to see her role in creating the problems she's complaining about.
Me as a woman, I'm not telling you I want you. I'm not doing that. Especially if we both know there's an interest there. You know what I mean? Like, come and get what you want. I, as the woman, should be waiting for you.
She's sitting there declaring that she shouldn't have to do anything except exist and wait for men to pursue her, despite looking and acting like she works customer service at Hell's complaint department. She's convinced that her gender alone entitles her to be pursued and desired, regardless of what she actually brings to the table. But here's the reality check she desperately needs: being a woman isn't enough anymore. There are millions of women out there, and many of them are far more attractive, much more pleasant, more feminine, and more worth pursuing than she is. Men have options, and when presented with a choice between pursuing an entitled, unpleasant woman who demands everything while offering nothing, or literally any other option including staying single, they're going to choose the other option every single time.
To court me. I should not be sitting here. Like, come and talk to me. Like, what's going on? Like,
this woman represents everything that's wrong with contemporary dating culture from the female perspective: unlimited expectations combined with zero self-awareness and even less to offer. Let's be brutally honest about what we're looking at here. This is an objectively unattractive woman with the personality of a parking ticket who genuinely believes she deserves to be courted and pursued by men like she's some kind of prize worth winning. She's living in a complete fantasy world where her gender alone entitles her to male attention, investment, and resources, regardless of what she brings to the table in return. This woman is the perfect example of how feminism has completely broken women's ability to accurately assess their own market value. She's been told her entire life that she's a queen who deserves to be treated like royalty, and she's internalized this message so completely that she can't understand why reality doesn't match her expectations. She's been gaslit into believing that her standards are reasonable when they're actually completely delusional given what she's offering in return. The traditional system she's demanding a return to was based on mutual exchange. Men were the pursuers and providers because women were the supporters and nurturers. Men opened doors and paid for dates because women were grateful, feminine, and made men's lives better. It was a symbiotic relationship where both parties brought value to the table. But this woman wants all the benefits of traditional masculinity while offering none of traditional femininity. She wants to be approached, courted, provided for, and treated like a lady while acting like anything but a lady. She wants chivalry without grace, provision without appreciation, and investment without return. The reason men aren't approaching her isn't because masculinity is dead or because men have become feminine. It's because she's not worth approaching. Men haven't lost their instinct to pursue women, they've just developed better pattern recognition and self-preservation skills. When you look at this woman, any rational man is going to immediately recognize that she's a net negative in his life and move on to literally any other option. The hilarious part is her complete lack of self-awareness about why her strategy isn't working. She's genuinely confused that men aren't competing for the privilege of dealing with her attitude and demands. She can't comprehend that she's not the prize she thinks she is, and that men have other options that are infinitely more attractive than whatever she's offering. This woman represents the endpoint of female hypergamy and entitlement culture. She wants top-tier treatment while being a bottom-tier option. She's demanding that the sexual marketplace operate according to her delusions rather than adapting to reality. This is what happens when women are raised with unlimited self-esteem and no connection to reality. They develop completely unrealistic expectations about what they deserve while remaining completely oblivious to what they actually offer. They mistake having standards for having value, and they confuse being picky with being a prize. Until women like this develop some self-awareness about their actual market value and start bringing something to the table besides demands and attitude, they're going to continue being single and bitter while wondering why men have changed. The men haven't changed, the women have just revealed who they always were underneath the facade, and men are responding rationally to what they're actually being offered.